How about we do this? U.S. job openings surpassed 10.9 million.
Dang.
The number of open jobs in America is greater than the number of unemployed people. And that's 2 months in a row now. Now, last month, they filled close to 1 million jobs, but had 10.1 million openings. That was a record. And that meant there were more openings than people available to work. From April to July, we lost 3 million jobs per month, about just shy of 3 million, but only gained about a couple 100,000 per month. So it was like for every 3 jobs lost, 1 job has been gained. The economy is not doing well. You look at all the shortages, all the shutdown, and there's still people in this country who are like, yay, Joe Biden, the economy is doing pretty good. And I have no idea how that's possible. But I'll tell you this, if these people at CNN and MSNBC continue to push this stuff, they are the people who are stripping the copper out of the walls of the building we're in to go sell for scrap. They're the people who saw the Titanic hit the iceberg. Now they're stealing all the fine china and silverware and rushing to the lifeboats. They're extracting everything while the ship is sinking. It's why Rachel Maddow, she went from a daily show, now she's doing a weekly show. A lot of people have pointed out, yeah, she's jumping ship. She doesn't want to be left holding the bag, so she's reducing her workload, taking a bigger paycheck. I can't remember who told us this. It might have been Bannon, that Jon Stewart shut his show down just before Trump came in because they all knew it was going to happen. And nobody wanted to be doing a nightly show where they're forced to lie. So they cancel it. And that's basically, I think, what we're going through right now is, like, you take a look at, someone like Ian, who by any sane metric, a conservative would call a leftist, a liberal, or, at the very least on the left. Yet people in media would say Ian's far right.
It's because I have long hair.
Well, I think that's a reason to make you far left.
People look at me and they make assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're trapped in this. So I think ultimately what this brings us to is we're watching the country collapse. It's breaking apart. Portland announces they're banning trade with Texas. California says no travel to the other states. I'm like, at this point, this is one by one the bricks falling out of the building as the United States is crumbling down. And so long, I think the main issue is you've got people on the left who actively want that to happen. The Occupy Wall Street people, for instance, were like very much so wanting the U.S. to collapse. Antifa very clearly wants the U.S. to collapse. They all basically think this country is racist, 1619 Project, all that stuff. And one by one, our institutions are failing. And it's no surprise. The people in government are incentivized to extract as much as they can as the ship is falling apart. And what's the end result, I guess? We break apart.
That's what should have happened a long time ago. I mean, how do you have people who are like, okay, I literally want to be able to have a baby be born and punch a hole in its head and suck its brain out.
That was in Virginia.
Yeah, they literally want that to happen. How am I supposed to share air with them? How am I supposed to share a polity with them? I mean, why should I be forced to? Why don't we just break up? And the hardest part is you have states where a state like Texas, okay? You have the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Dallas is insanely left. Fort Worth is right. So how do you do that? We have to come up with a way that people can be able to choose the kind of governance they want, because we're just going to be at war to the point where, I don't know, people are burning cities down. I mean,
I think, maybe if this continues, you might see left and right wing groups fighting in the streets.
Huh.
Or maybe shooting at each other. Oh,
but
wait,
that's
that
not going
happened
to be
2
in
years
right-wing
ago.
cities, though. That's all going to be in the left. Those cities need to be abandoned.
Hold on. I was joking because it already happened.
Right.
This past weekend, and the past weekend, there's been shootouts in Portland.
So I personally think that there needs to be a unifying principle around which people can gather in order to have a strong country, right? And you talked, I think you were right, that how the modern day right conservatives for the last 50 years have ceded our education system, entertainment, and the media to the left, and we're reaping the consequences of that today, right? And I think part of that is when you teach kids, you talk about this critical race theory stuff, and certainly in college for a long time it was happening in college where students were being taught to think this country was a horrible place, an evil place where everyone was racist. I grew up, and was taught, we judge people by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Like, we read Martin Luther King, we ingested it, we believed it. But today, your child in a public school is being taught that they're either a victim or oppressor based on the color of their skin. They're taught to hate the other based on the color of their skin. And when that happens, I mean, you start to believe in a way, especially if you're a little one, right, that your country is a fundamentally evil, horrible place. And that's why we have such unbelievable group polarization in this country, because we've had one political party who has done nothing but divide us among age, race, demographic, young, old, rich, poor, black, white, Christian, atheist, because that's how they maintain power, right? I have a different view, and you and I have talked about this on the show, and even debated about it a little bit, but I maybe it's me being naive, but I believe that what makes America exceptional is not necessarily our diversity. Now, diversity is great. Like, around this table, we have an unbelievable amount of diversity, and diversity of thought is great because it challenges us to think in different ways. But what makes this country exceptional is that for 200 years, we've put aside our petty differences, or done the best that we could in order to put aside our differences and united around a principle of being an American. Today, we don't have that anymore. And you see little fractures in every aspect of what we do in our education system, even in sports now, are political, right? I mean,
you know how we solve it? Sean Parnell does not run for Senate in U.S. Senate. He runs for mayor of his hometown. He runs for mayor of his hometown, and he gets people elected to the board who agree with him and say, we're not going to teach that crap here. The federal GOP is controlled opposition for the regime. We know that. Even Kevin was it Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader,
on the House side.
In the House side. He was, I'm a total Trumper until January 6th. And then he starts backing off. And then he starts going back. Look at what DeSantis is doing in Florida. Look at what Abbott is doing in Texas. If Sean Parnell ran for governor of Pennsylvania and ran on three things: you're not teaching that crap in schools. If you don't want a mask on your child, you're not going to have a mask. And if you don't want a needle stuck in your arm, you don't have to have a needle stuck in your arm. If you ran for governor of Pennsylvania on that, you would get elected. And you would do more for the people that you love in your home state than you would going to Washington, D.C. and getting stuck in that mess.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I do think that there are many positive ways that you, especially if you're getting elected, and the idea that all politics is local, right? And like, we're seeing just in Pennsylvania alone, like an unbelievably intense focus on school boards. We've never seen anything like the intensity that's around school board elections this year, but we're seeing that at every level. And mayor, governor, there's a gubernatorial election in Pennsylvania in 2022. And I would say 99% of the time I would agree with you, except for 2022. If we lose the state of Pennsylvania, which is this seat, Senator Toomey's retiring. It's an open seat, so there's no incumbent there. It's been in Republican control for a while. If we lose the seat, and the Democrats, of course, know that there's no pathway to the Senate majority without flipping this seat in Pennsylvania. They have to do it if they want an actual majority. Then it almost doesn't matter if there's a Republican governor in Pennsylvania, because the feds, whether it's with HR 1, the For the People Act, or Senate Bill 1, which is basically a nationalization of our elections, the feds are taking away power from the states at a rate that has never been seen before in American history. And the critical fight for me is in the Senate to stop the radical left from packing the Supreme Court, from nuking the filibuster, to making Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico a state. It doesn't matter if there's a Republican governor in Pennsylvania. Of course it does. Of course it does. I'd rather see a Republican there than a radical leftist. But I'm saying I don't want to see states stripped of their power. And the left today will absolutely do that. They're not shy about their agenda. And for me, so I see not only is leadership important, less political party to me, and leadership is actually what really matters. But winning the seat in Pennsylvania, defending Pennsylvania, but also defending the country against being a hedge against just the insane radicalism of the New Democratic Party, and not allowing them to fundamentally transform this country into something that we've never recognized before.
I think you actually, what you were saying is another reason he could win the Senate. If you campaign on the same things at the state level, not, the kids, your school boards, choosing to get vaccinated or whatever.
School choice is something that is unbelievably important. And so I think COVID and these insane lockdowns have shown us this, something that crosses, socioeconomic strata. It's important in the inner city. It's important in the rural community, especially in Pennsylvania, where broadband is a real issue. When schools closed and we went virtual, there were kids in the inner city that didn't have a laptop computer to get on the internet or didn't have access to the internet. You had kids in rural communities who were climbing to the tops of their silos in the hopes that they could get on the internet in the Starbucks across town because they didn't have broadband internet. They had no internet whatsoever. So you're right. There are those very same issues. Like I'm vehemently opposed to vaccine mandates. I will say that, like as you mentioned, if you want the vaccine, consult with your doctor. By all means, get the vaccine, but let no government mandate it. I think it's
the government doesn't know your personal life. They don't know your personal finances. They don't know the struggles you go through. And this tends to be, and Republicans do this, like you mentioned, the federal GOP is just opposition, controlled opposition. They do these blanket policies that don't make sense for localities. So the one thing I think people definitely need to pay attention to is, you mentioned school boards are really important.
They're so important.
But I will say too, I think you're correct. They need a better governor in Pennsylvania. Sean would be a great governor, but if Sean is going to get that Senate seat and it's going to have a big impact at the federal level, even if the federal GOP is controlled opposition, I think that's actually a good argument for why more honest individuals should be running and displacing them.
This is why
I think DeSantis has done more to protect his constituency than probably any politician in my lifetime.
You're 100%. You're 100% right.
And he's doing that at the governor level while he's being attacked. And he's just middle fingering.
So this is the point that I wanted to make. And by the way, you're right. I think Ron DeSantis has done an incredible job in Florida. You're right. All my life, I have wondered why Republicans haven't fought harder, right? And I think there's a lot of reasons why. Like, I think a lot of Republicans don't want the media attention. They don't want to have to fight the media and the Democrats, a lot of that. But what Trump taught the Republican Party, and certainly this next wave of sort of Republican blue-collar working, the party of see the Republican Party as the party of the working class, individual freedom and liberty, small federal government, all the same stuff. But the Trump taught this next generation of Republicans how to fight, and that the cultural fight is also important, and it cannot simply be discarded.
Hey. Some of us have been trying to teach libertarians that too.
I do think that we can change the whole uniparty, because there are times where I'm so frustrated at how the Republican Party operates. But the only way you change it is to get involved and be the change that you hope to see. But that's why we can stop the insanity. You're talking about the USA and empire in decline, America in decline, or late stage collapse. I don't buy that. I think that good, strong leadership can change it. But if we win Pennsylvania, we can stop the insanity of the radical left that all rests on Pennsylvania. I'm telling you that we can stop them from doing what they're doing to this country, and that's why Pennsylvania is so important, and that's why the radical left and people like Chuck Schumer were running ads against me 2 weeks before I was even a candidate, because they know how important it is.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.